Man, guess who's back? I said, guess who's back? What's up, boxing fans? Welcome to the channel. We're going to get straight into this one. So, David Haye was recently interviewed by IFL TV. They asked him some questions about what he thought about the antics that happened up on the in the pre-fight conference between Eubank and Smith. Obviously, they exchanged a lot of words and it got a little bit heated. David Haye had a few words to say about that, and he had some insights. He had some insight into how he thinks the fight might play out between the two. He also made a reference to the comments that were made about Chris Eubank's sexuality made by Liam Smith. And in his view, apparently David Haye knows Eubank quite well. I think either they've trained together or they play poker together or something like that. But they seem to be a little bit closer than some of the other boxing fans, some of the other boxers. So David Haye said that in regards to Chris Eubank's sexuality, Chris Eubank is as gay as he is. That's what he said. Hence the thumbnail. I think what he was referring to is David Haye is kind of a well-known kind of playboy character. In previous times he was known as that, but even in recent times, he recently just went on holiday, David Haye, with two other women, and he's been seen on his Instagram with multiple women. So apparently he's been rumoured to be having kind of open relationships with a lot of different women. So his point was that Chris Eubank, although he's not often seen with women, he is very much heterosexual. I don't see how important it is and why people have made such a big deal of it. End of the day, you know, the sexuality and all this stuff doesn't matter. But in the fight, that's what really counts. And David Haye had some words to say about that. The main thing that David Haye said, which I think he makes a great, he makes a lot of great points. Apart from his predictions that are always wrong, he's actually on point with a lot of the things that he says. He said that Chris Eubank Jr. should not underestimate Smith. Smith is a solid opponent, former world champion. He's been in there with a lot of different fighters. He's a big guy, strong, sturdy, good chin, just like Eubank Jr. He's got boxing skills, or as you wouldn't get to world level, he said. He also said that he's done more rounds and, you know, a little bit more experience, more fights, you know. He's a solid opponent, and Chris Eubank should not take him lightly. He also made reference and said that he knows this personally because he did this with Tony Bellew, which we all know. David Haye took Tony Bellew lightly. He was actually looking ahead of Tony Bellew to try and get a fight with Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury, and ended up coming up very short against Tony Bellew twice. So he said, don't underestimate this guy. You know, he could be your toughest fight. On paper, he's your best opponent, so there's no point underestimating. And I completely agree with David Haye. He is a tough opponent. He is going to keep coming forward, and he's like a pressure fighter. Definitely going to be a tough opponent. But for me, I feel like I haven't seen enough of Chris Eubank Jr., particularly while he's been working with Roy Jones, I can't really make an assessment on how much he's improved. You know, before he was more of a fighter than a boxer. He was good at brawling, very good at brawling, but it often came up short against skillful boxers. Now, I don't know if it's changed yet or not. I've seen him recently in the recent fight with Liam Williams. He didn't look great, but his boxing skills definitely looked like he improved. He was boxing off the back foot, and yeah, that looked great. I don't know if he was trying new things and he wanted to win, like fighting in that style. But if he did, he done a very good job. I thought he would get more aggressive at some point, but he didn't really. So I would personally like to see him take it up a notch. And I think he has taken it up a notch already in his training. If you look at this picture that I've got up here, he looks in amazing shape. Have not seen Eubank Jr. in this kind of shape before. He's definitely come in 100%. All this 50% talk, it's all nonsense. It's all part of the build-up. I think it's been funny. I think he's been great. I wasn't actually a fan of Chris Eubank Jr. in the past. He wasn't very likable. He didn't seem as if he was very approachable in his personality. But I think that he was kind of in the shadow of his father, and now he's definitely coming into his own. He's becoming more relaxed, and he's coming into his own character, and he's much more likable now. Funny character. I can see some fans gravitating to him. He's definitely a polarizing character. He's always going to have fans that don't like him. And I know although Chris Eubank seems as if it doesn't bother him that he's seen as the bad guy, as he puts it, I know that it is a bit of a thorn in his side that he's always seen as, the bad guy. But I think really it's just because of his persona. He comes across as someone who is very confident, and some people like that, and some people think he's overconfident, and some people think he's arrogant, and that's why you're going to get detractors. And it really doesn't matter. As long as you perform in the ring, people will start to gravitate to your performance, and that's what Eubank should concentrate on, and I think that's what he's concentrating on for the most part anyway. So I think it's going to be a good fight. I think Smith, although I think he is a tough opponent, I think he's kind of tailor-made for Eubank. He doesn't, he comes up with a high guard, he tries to pressure, but when he comes up with that high guard, he gets in close and he has his hands up. I think this is the kind of thing Eubank will like, because Eubank can tee off on him from close range, and this is Eubank all day. Those uppercuts, those hooks, those uppercuts from close range is what he likes, and I think Smith actually falls right into that issue, that problem, that range. And then if he doesn't, Eubank has now added some tools where he boxes on the back foot and boxes from range. Now the problem with that for Smith is that Eubank can do that because first of all he's very fit and healthy and he can keep that up, and also he's athletic, and because he's athletic I think he's going to be able to get out of the way and box on the back foot. So I kind of feel like Smith loses from the outside and on the inside, and I don't see this skill factor that Smith really has. I think it's more experience. I think he can cut off the ring better than people think. I think the pressure that he puts on people starts to weigh on people more than people think, and then his punches start to get through. But I think that kind of happens on lesser opponents. So I think Chris Eubank wins this fight, not by knockout, but by maybe a wide margin. Most likely a majority decision, maybe a split decision. And David Haye kind of backs up some of the things that I'm saying. He also thinks it will be close. He didn't seem to think that there was any kind of knockout imminent. But probably a majority decision. But he definitely edged Chris Eubank Jr. to get the win. So for the most part, I was in complete agreement with David Haye until he kind of insinuated a prediction and actually said that he believes Chris Eubank Jr. will get the win. This is what I didn't want to hear, because David Haye has an extremely poor success rate with predictions, almost to the point where everybody knows that he gets these predictions wrong, so they don't want him to jinx their fight because he's always wrong. I don't know why. He's got really bad luck with predicting fights, and I was absolutely sure that Chris Eubank Jr. would win this fight until David Haye made a prediction, and now I'm not so sure. I think Smith might win now because it's just the way it goes. David Haye has not been right about a fight for as long as I can remember. So yeah, I'm really not sure. Smith might win. But anyway, let me know what you think of David Haye's comments. Let me know what you think about the pre-fight antics, some of the things that were said, the allegations of Smith cheating on his wife, which I know he got a bit hot under the collar after that was thrown at him. What do you think about some of the allegations about Chris Eubank having hair implants? That was one that was missed. Not a lot of people noticed that one. And obviously, is there any evidence of Chris Eubank's sexuality? I suppose that's an important thing for some people. So if that's important to you, leave a comment and let me know what you think of these antics by both men. Come on to the next one.